I had a rather lengthy conversation with a friend of mine today. It's always nice to sit and chat over coffee. And we chatted about beef. She's a friend, she's a neighbor, she also raises cattle. And we had a rather lengthy discussion, kind of dove deep into it, put on our tinfoil hats for some of it, and recognized the fact that some of the predictions that we've been talking about for the last couple of years are coming to fruition. So today I'm going to share some of that with you, some of the methodology behind it. I am no expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought that this flag is one that I needed to share, and it definitely prompted me to go out and do a little shopping that I was putting off until probably the end of April, and decided, no, I'm going to get it done now. Let me tell you why. Hello, everybody, and welcome to SuttonsDaze. If you're new here, my name is Lisa. We are all about pantry preparedness. Having a prepared pantry is some of the best insurance that money can buy. Quite a few of you have mentioned over the last few years that you are stacking it to the rafters protein heavy. There's a really good reason for that, because the cost of proteins has gone up exponentially. I can't believe some of the prices that they're getting for some of the meat that they are selling. Now, you know me, my 99-cent chicken breast, right? I look for that sale. It happens once a year, and I try to take advantage of it to the best of my financial ability. And pork butts do the same thing, 99 cents a year. I wait until they go on sale, and then I load up on them. We also raise our own pork. We also raise our own chickens, and beef. We don't raise beef. Yeah, there's just not enough time, room, money, anything else for us to raise beef. And while we were kind of considering it, because a friend of mine started raising miniature cattle, this kind of cemented in the fact that we're not going to. So in my conversation with my friend today, we talked about how she is seriously considering taking in all of her cattle to auction. I said, why would you do that? And she said, because historically, it's really good if you're getting $1 per pound on hoof, okay? And it's unheard of, but happens occasionally if you get up to $1.50 a pound on hoof. That's okay, so when you look at our prices, we're paying, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $10 a pound for certain things, but at auction, they're selling for $1 per pound, still live animal, the whole deal. Well, all of a sudden, she's been watching all of the auction houses that are not too far from us. She's been watching the futures, and yeah, they're going for close to $3 a pound on the hoof now. That is more than double the cost of what it typically goes for. That is a red flag. That is something that we all need to pay some serious attention to. Because if you like beef, we like beef, then you want to be able to get it now. So as we're having this conversation, putting on our tinfoil hats, like I said, we're talking about, okay, how long do we have until, as consumers, we start seeing this? Because as consumers, you know as well as I do that the cost of beef has gone up a lot, and that a lot of people are finding alternative methods, using pork, using beans, using chicken instead of beef, because beef has gotten so expensive. Now, there's a little bit of a history in here, and I'm sure there's more that I don't know or am not remembering to tell you about, but for the last few years, we have seen a progression of cattle ranches who are selling off their herd at rather low prices because they can't afford to feed them because the feed costs went up so much. They also are having issues because of the drought, so they can't keep the animals doing well because they don't have enough water for them. We've already got diminished herds. And with the diminished herds, then it becomes an even bigger problem. So you have smaller herds. You're not getting that next generation brought up, right? Especially at the quantity that they had previously, because it's harder and more expensive to feed and water them. And people just can't do it anymore. Our farmers historically make the least amount of money on the food that we consume. Absolutely the least, which is why I've always said, if you can, go straight to the source. The meat fairy doesn't exist. By the time that actually hits our refrigerator, freezer, jars, whatever the case may be, that price has more than quadrupled. It's I don't even know the number for it. Easily 10 times in some cases for what it was bought at the farmer's level. The farmers make no money on this. I mean, I honestly don't know at this point why they bother to keep going, because the equipment costs a small fortune. The animals, their upkeep, the testing that has to be done is a small fortune. And because places that do factory farming, where they're all kept in horrible little spaces where they are not allowed to be the animals that they are, that is what we're getting at the grocery store most of the time. Not the nice cows frolicking in the sun, eating hay, and enjoying life. Now, I am carnivore. We are carnivore. We love meat. It's just the way that we are made. I believe that genetically some people are just made to eat meat, some people are not, and that's fine. If I have no choice at some point in the future to ever eat meat again, I will be horribly sad. I will complain about it a lot at the top of my lungs, and I'll probably be near death. So, we're good. But there are some people that just prefer meat. I am one of those people, so is Phil. So when we heard this morning, I relayed it to Phil, and I said, I was planning on doing this purchase, a little bit later, at least a month away. But I think we should move this up because according to the conversation that I had, I said, when do you think that we will start seeing this at the consumer level? She goes, probably in 3 to 4 weeks. That's how long it will take to reach the consumer level. Now at these auction houses, from what I've been told, I have not witnessed it, the major purchasers, will go to the auction houses and they will buy up all of the cattle that's there, and they'll raise the price beyond what Joe Schmo, with his little farm can afford. And so they will get all of the cattle. So it's an elevated price. It's technically a false elevated price because they're doing it intentionally. And your neighbor who has a small farm that wants to add cattle to it can't afford to do it. It just doesn't make financial sense. So I will again say, reach out to your local farmers. See if you can buy your beef from them directly. At the end of the day, I would rather pay $6 a pound from my neighbor than I would from the grocery store. So do what you can to resource your proteins in a good way, but pay attention because these prices are going to start going up. How many of you have been priced out of beef lately? I know a lot of people have. I know a lot of people are cutting back. They're using pork. They're using chicken instead. Even goats. Now, the U.S. is not big on goat meat. You're not going to find it at your local Kroger's, But even goats, the price of goats on the hoof has more than doubled during all of this. Nothing is safe. Nothing is sacred. And we're going to continue to see these issues because you control the food, you control the people. Let's stay in control of our own. Pay attention to what is offered in your area. Check out the smaller stores. Get on Facebook. Bring up the local butcher. Bring up the discount butcher. Save a Lot, that kind of thing. And see what kind of prices they have. Now, Save a Lot typically in our area has pretty decent meat, and normally they can beat the prices that you can get anyplace else. I have a better chance of eating beans for a month than paying the price that our local grocery store wants for meat. However, if I shop around and I look at the different areas, I can find it. The one thing with the local grocery store is that they will have the manager specials. I highly recommend, if you're on a super tight budget, that you make that trip in. You make that effort to go see what they are offering on manager specials and see if it's something that you can use. Now, sometimes it is the higher cut of meat that's more expensive and they discount that. It's meat. You decide from there, see what's available. But taking advantage of every possible opportunity that you can to get the best prices that you can for the next month, give or take, is going to be important to make sure that you're stocked up. At the bottom in the description box, I will link videos on how to hot pack and cold pack beef roasts. I will put a video on how to can ground beef, and I think those are the two main ones. So those will be down below in the description box. And I will also I'll put the playlist for canning meat at the end of this video. But I am urging you, you know me, I don't want to fearmonger. I want you to be prepared. And while it is short notice, especially because this is the end of the month, for those of you that get paid at the beginning of the month, you want to make sure to start scoping out prices now and trying to figure out how you can use those funds that you get to stock up your beef, your meat, if that's what you want. If not, we will be working very hard here to show you different ways to use your pork or to use your chicken so that you're not missing that beef quite so much. Ground beef is still somewhat affordable, even though, in my opinion, you're paying a lot for fat, but the fat does make it not as dry, so all fat is not bad. But if you can find ground beef at a good price now, I would still recommend stocking up on that. If you haven't canned it before, try canning just a few jars, because some people are very texture sensitive. I'm not one of those people. I have ground beef in jars because I put it into chilies. I put it into soups. I put it into pasta dishes. I don't care. But my same beef-friendly neighbor down the road can't stand canned beef. If you have other alternatives or other options, definitely share them down below. The hive mentality is always best in situations like this. Be prepared, not scared. We can do this together. We can get through it together. Until next time, everybody, be safe.